working on this together. And the presentation that I've given you, that I've forwarded to yourself, this is what I've presented to show you the steps that we've taken to the present day this year. Of course, thank you very much for inviting me to that session, but unfortunately I was unable to travel, and that's why I chose to do the presentation. So in short, I don't have a speech to give besides. This is what I want to show. It's technical. Thank you very much.
Okay, so do we have the presentation? Yes.
Yes, the person I will be talking to now, he actually received the presentation. At your best, yes, he has received that presentation.
Yes, so we'll project it now and then you'll start.
Recording in progress.
All right, Prof, so you can go ahead. It's up now.
Yeah, but I can't. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
So please carry on.
Okay. Thank you very much. What I have here is building any kind of value chain. Under the, I wanted to thank first of all people over there in Ghana, and that's what I'm trying to present is something that's happening between Zambia and the Congo DR on the EV value chain, an opportunity for us in Central Africa to use these EV batteries. And of course, where I started, I wanted to show the map showing the Central African map where copper is being mined, nickel, lead, zinc, the other metals that are being mined. And of course, that's what I'm showing there. And this is a similar map, but it's also showing you the area in Congo and Zambia. You can see Congo here, the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Zambia. And of course, I was showing you here that where they discovered nickel in the Congo here, within the same area, is on the other side of Zambia. We've also discovered a large deposit of nickel, which can also be used for this EV. The minerals required, if you can see that minerals required in this, from our side, you have copper, you have nickel, you have manganese, you have cobalt, and you have graphite, and these materials, lithium, can be used to provide that clean energy technology. You can use it for solar, you can use it for wind, you can also use it in what we are trying to do over down here on the electric car as a battery for that car. Okay. And of course, being a university, we are thinking that we have to now create mines of the future where we can also grow that capacity for young people. So in order to do that, we understand that the global energy landscape is undergoing a profound transformation, and of course driven by the change of trying to combat climate change and reduce greenhouse emissions. And we know that Africa itself holds about 3% of the total global value chain of batteries. In fact, this is what I'm dealing with. I've already indicated the minerals that are important: graphite, cobalt, lithium, manganese, graphite, nickel, copper, phosphorus, aluminum, and iron. And particularly Zambia and the Congo, if you combine, we hold about 70% of global reserve. And of course, we can produce high-grade strategic battery minerals, copper, cobalt, and stuff like that. Okay, so we need to position ourselves to do this EV battery. And this cartoon here, which if you are seeing it, it just shows you where some of these minerals are mined in Zambia. And of course, I wanted to also show you these codes. Africa must add value to its resources. We can no longer afford to export raw potential. This came from our Excellence, President Hakainde Hichilema, on one side, and on the other side, President Tshisekedi of Cambodia also said Africa's minerals must work for Africa. Value addition is no longer a choice, it is a necessity. And these were said this year. And it is these two presidents who have pushed forward this project, okay? And we were in 2021 trying to provide these things that we want to do, and they will provide the leadership and the political will. And as far as the project is concerned, cartoon you see there is to show you some of the memorandums between Zambia and the Congo DR, some of the memorandums that we signed between UNECA, and of course some of the agreements that we signed with PAPA, or a partner that we tried to bring in to do the feasibility study. That's what I'm showing you there. And that feasibility study was done by ARISE too. Okay, and of course, what is important to understand here is that it's a requirement that we have to have any, okay, and the investment which should actually flow into this EV battery value chain. For example, starting from the upstream of mining, where geology and exploration for these resources are done. Okay, and when you do that, you move on to the first one is mining of the battery minerals, and that, if they are done properly, you create $11 billion. And when you add the processing of them, it brings you to what we call battery refining and processing, to create $44 billion. And moving further to cathode active mass, the component, that's $271 billion. Electrodes and manufacturing of the cell assembly, that's $387 billion. You can finish up with the part itself, okay, which is $1.18 trillion. And so these are the things that is stimulated us to go this EV battery chain. So in short, it's really technical, okay? We focus on that EV battery chain, and of course, we know the critical minerals that we've been talking about: copper, cobalt, lithium, manganese, nickel, and graphite. And of course, the value chain I've already outlined to you: mining, chemical refining, precursor production, cathode and anode assembly, and the battery cell manufacturing to give you that essential review in the end. And of course, as Zambia, we will be trying to promote some of these, and we have put in place a pattern who we have selected as a RISE. Okay, and of course, we are being helped by UNECA. I'm sure you know what UNECA is. And we have set up a special economic zone for this. That will be in Angola, Zambia, and it's in Congo here, in Croatia. And this is a map showing where this special zone will be. And we're holding all private sector to help those who can invest and have joint ventures, the Zambians and the Congolese. And see this to its full contribution. But what we are saying is that even though we are putting this economic zone, it does not necessarily have to invest in these economic zones. You can invest in other economic zones that are in Congo and in Zambia. So this is what I wanted to emphasize on that slide. And so we require the private sector so that they can collaborate with government in the implementation of this joint initiative. And then also we want to take that advantage so that they can work together with people in Congo and Zambia to create these ideas. And we require from them to develop infrastructure to support the electric battery value chain, EV battery plants, and the efficient transport networks to take the material to wherever we are going to set up these vehicles. And we also need to have a joint office to reliable energy grids, the charging of infrastructure for EV battery. And of course, we require them also to help the skills development and the training, okay, starting from colleges and universities in Zambia and the Congo. And of course, there are the people who can advocate for policy, good policy, and regulatory frameworks in the use of these EV batteries, as private sector can play that very key role, not forgetting in the research and the development in collaboration with universities and colleges. And here I was just showing you these things are implemented. For example, in these economic zones, you create employment. In Zambia, you can see there could be 15,000 direct jobs, while in Congo DR, 25,000 direct jobs, with the others that are even more in indirect jobs because of the plants that can be created. The idea is to create jobs for our Zambians and the Congolese people. This slide here, I was just showing for you, we really have the left and the skills in our countries. You find that our academic experts working electrochemistry, chemical engineers, process engineers, and project managers, and of course, digital knowledge experts. Because in Zambia, for example, we have 54 private universities and 9 public universities with 50 covered institutions. And of course, we have academic research institutions to work together, encouraging and putting power plants to work together, and innovation labs in our campuses, also from that public-private partners for training and skill users. And of course, collaboration with mineral traceability technologies and the ESG compliance. Example for Coppermill University, we are going to be involved in these economic zones so that we can provide research and innovation in mineral processing and battery chemistry. Of course, the list is endless because you can work on curriculum transformation. You can work in sustainable mining and the battery technologies, and also that's time pipeline, industrialization. And of course, as the capability now appealing to you people out there, okay, they are certainly, we are starting to because we are exactly in the zone, the capability zone, and we have that geographic advantage. And also, we want to apply ourselves in Ghana, okay, to look at some of these things. And last but here, just if this happens, okay, where you connectivity, logistics, and corridors, we are talking of the Lobito railway corridor. In Zambia, also we have the Tazara, and then you get our two countries, they are connected. And the takeaway from my presentation from the Democratic Republic of Congo on one side, some on the other side, these are the takeaways which you can read for yourself, where we require investment, we require some experts to work with us to develop this EV battery in those specific economic zones. In conclusion, we must move from extraction to transformation, from potential to power, and this and also would ask Ghana to move in and invest in our special economic zone, okay, a joint venture in the partnering with Zambia. Okay, so I will encourage our colleagues in Ghana, in Zambia, that we can co-create green industries and skilled youth and get that together we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was Professor Imasiku Nyambe, the Vice Chancellor, Copperbelt University, and a member of Zambia DRC Battery Council, sharing the experience in developing localized clean energy supply chains between Zambia and DRC. We have another presentation that will also focus on the same theme to set the context for an expert chat that we're going to have after. Please let's invite Dr. Charles Ofori, who is the Policy Lead, Climate Change and Energy Transition at the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Now he has a very long walk, so let's clap till he gets here.
All right, good afternoon. So this presentation follows from the previous presentation that Prof had, and it's focused on building critical mineral value chains in Ghana, in Africa, having a special economic zones approach. My name is Charles, as Kojo mentioned. So I wouldn't want to bore you with the preliminary details about what critical minerals are. I think we've had enough conversations about it. But these are various headlines that we have seen in various discourses, conferences, and various discussions around minerals. And one of the things that we see is one thing. We want to ban exportation of raw minerals to enrich the country. So we have Nigeria talking about it, AU in general talking about it, Ghana is talking about it, Zambia is talking about it, every country is talking about it. And Zimbabwe has actually taken that first step to issue some restrictions on raw lithium exports from 2027. And we have seen that we have various continental frameworks that is offering structural platforms like the AMDC is coming with the AMV. We now have the Africa Green Mineral Strategy. So a lot leveraging on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as well. But then there are persistent challenges that we need to talk about. So there's a question that we need to ask ourselves. How can Africa move beyond just these declarations and then build the kind of interconnected value chain that we all aspire to have? And that requires a new thinking, a rethinking of the approach that we've been having, the approach that we've been using. And we need new organizational, new thinking around new models for industrial organization. And so these are some challenges, and I hope you recognize these challenges because we've had extensive conversation about them. The almighty finance and investment risk, the high-risk jurisdictions that Africa has become notoriously known for. We have infrastructure deficits across power, transport, industrial infrastructure. The literature abounds when it comes to these risks. Economies of scale. Yes, there's this statistics that is that's going on, that Africa hosts about 30% of the of critical mineral resources, but we've not talked about how they are clustered around 52 or 54 countries, with 54 presidents, with 54 times 200 parliamentarians, with 54 times about 2 or 3 ministers responsible for mines, So when you begin to think through these questions, you realize that harnessing these minerals and bringing that regional coordination is very imperative, but there's a very, it's a difficult thing that we need to still do. So economies of scale is also another issue. And then the policy and the regulatory environment in itself. There's the issue of local content. Every country seems to have a local content policy, but the challenge has been that local content is largely focused on ownership rather than active participation. Then there's that overlooked front on upstream linkages. Everybody is talking about value chain, but we have not looked at how we can even optimize the upstream by linking it to the other sectors of the economy through mine support services and the rest. Then there's that weak coordination among states that hamper regional coordination. And you can ask the African Mineral Development Center, have been suffering and really struggling a lot around getting various countries to coordinate and to make sure that we begin to rethink around regionalizing the value chains. So these challenges exist. And these challenges are too heavy for a single nation to bear. That is really the truth. So the pathway for us is regionalization. But then how? How do we do that? Because if you have regionalization, it means that we have to cluster your infrastructure. You have to make sure that we have shared industrial hubs. And then most importantly, we need to also harmonize our policies. And this is where the special economic zones approach comes in. And this is the crust of this work. This work is still ongoing, and we hope that we are able to get meaningful inputs, again, to enrich this aspect of the work. So as a basic concept, special economic zones at a glance, they are areas that have been geographically delimited, and they offer policy incentives. Countries or firms that are engaged, that are within the zone, have certain incentives that they gain, tax reliefs, other incentives, and then they have some enhanced infrastructure and services compared to non-SEZ firms. And then there are various kinds. We can have free trade zones, we can have export processing zones, we can have free ports and what have you. And the benefits, largely, if we talk about what government's thinking have been around establishing special economic zones, you realize that largely they've been around attracting foreign direct investments, generating employment, increasing exports, and then also overall GDP growth. No matter how the special economic zone is structured in a country, these benefits are benefits that do not seem to elude the aspirations of various countries and various governments. But one thing that this traditional view of special economic zones are failing to recognize is the current evolution of technology and innovation that can make special economic zones that do not rethink its mode of approach very redundant. And the literature has been showing how some of these zones have been non-performing because they are not living up to the times. They also fail to recognize knowledge spillovers to the local industry. So they now limit their role and then their work within the zone that they fall in without really trickling it down to the local industries, the other sectors of the economy through linkages. And that make these SEZs look like enclaves. And so we need to look at how we can rethink that model. And now within the conversation of regionalization, regional trade agreements like AFTA, ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, and other trade agreements are beginning to cause us to lead towards forming regional special economic zones, and that is where we need to start going. So how can we rethink this regional special economic zones for critical mineral value chains in Africa? First, we want to understand what the characteristics of critical mineral value chains are. They are capital and industrial intensive, capital in terms of the investments required for refinery, for other products. Even if you want to talk about the first level of value addition, which is the refining of the mineral from ore to pure refined product, or you want to look at the next stage of value addition, that is from the refined product to the very, very end product. We could talk about the batteries, we could talk about the panels, or any other units or device that you want to talk about. One thing is clear: a lot of money is involved, a lot of industrial process is involved, a lot of energy is involved, and it requires economies of scale, as we've discussed. And then another issue too is the issue of price volatilities and commodity cycles, geopolitical sensitivities that we see that is driving a lot of change within the region, and the fact that some of these value chains also have long payback periods. So the lessons that we learn from these characteristics is the fact that if you just structure your special economic zones based on just cheap labor and then tax incentives, that is not going to work, because the research and literature has shown that these characteristics actually transcend the issues around cheap labor. The sensitivities around geopolitical issues, price volatilities are high to actually tilt the performance of the special economic zone. So we need to really have a rethink and then consider these things. And so we need to push the boundaries beyond the traditional special economic zones. So rethinking the special economic zones would mean that we need to provide various export platforms to industrial ecosystems, the ability to aggregate our ore, our critical minerals, our minerals that we are mining in its raw quantities, to improve upon the economies of scale elements. And then our ability to leverage existing infrastructure, existing transport hubs, existing power pools, existing roads, networks, rail networks that we could use. The Prof talked about the Lobito corridor within the southern part of southern part of Africa, and all of those existing infrastructure could be leveraged in developing these zones. So it means that we are not just beginning from scratch. We are not starting from ground zero, but we are building up on whatever that has already been in existence to create and recreate these special economic zones for the intention of thinking through mineral value chain in Africa. Then also having an economic linkage mindset that creates spillovers. So the benefit should not just be for those that are within the zone, but those also that are outside. How can SMEs be linked to the zones? How can companies in other sectors of the economy be linked to the zones? Requires that level of thinking. So the key requirements for these special economic zones is, first of all, we need the agreement. And because we are talking about regionalized economic zones, because we are talking about regional value chains, there's a need for us to now begin to think on how we can now have inter-country agreements, agreements among countries in assembling, putting together our ore or the various feedstock for mineral refinery. It also means that we may need to have cross-border power purchase agreements. It also means that we may need to have memorandums of understanding around how we can share various logistic infrastructure. And then trade accords, having in mind the rules of origin around free trade, getting to understand what it means when a material satisfies a certain rules of origin requirements that would push it towards enjoying some benefits on tariffs and non-tariff, benefits alongside when you are trading. In terms of infrastructure, it also means that we need to have the power infrastructure. Luckily, we have existing power pools that we could leverage on. So the South African power pool, the West African power pool, the East African power pool are existing infrastructure that we could leverage to provide these zones. Also, we talked about the roads, the rails, and then the port infrastructure. So we talked about the Lobito corridor in South. We have the Central corridor, and even within the Western corridor, another example could be the Tema Takoradi Abidjan network. Then also shared utilities, shared asset plans, smelters, and all of those other groups could be beneficial for us to start rethinking these economic zones. But another critical thing that we need to look at is the governance aspect and then the regulation aspect. So that means that we need to move beyond just regulation within the national scale towards regulation at the regional level. And this is where a regional SEZ authority and a regulator becomes an important institution for us to create. And incentives are not just provided, but they are linked to the performance of the zone. And then, of course, transparency measures to allow us to efficiently monitor and track progress as it happens. Now, is this an ambitious approach? Is this impossible for us to do? The answer is that without being tagged as political, I would say it is possible for us to do it. Because, as I mentioned, we can leverage existing infrastructure, and we can start small, bilateral or trilateral clusters. Just as the example that Prof shown between DRC and Zambia, we can begin to look at that, experiment with that, look at the lessons that have been learned, see where we can go wrong, what things we did right, and then now begin to push the frontiers. Then we can now leverage existing regional protocols. We've had AFTA for too long, and it is high time we began to rethink AFTA beyond agricultural products, beyond textiles and garments, to push within the frontiers of the energy value chain, the clean energy value chain. ASEP has done some work around the clean energy value chain, renewable, the solar PV value chain, and how each aspect of the value chain really supports the rules of origin requirements under AFTA, and we have shown that it is a possibility that we can actually do this. We can leverage the AFTA to build a regional value chain that is clean and that will be accessible for all of us. The AMV, the African Mining Vision, and then the Africa Green Mineral Strategy are all existing documents that have given us some level of base and substructure to show that there is that regional agreement that could be possible, or there is that sense to have such regional agreements possible. And so if we're able to improve that, and we're able to improve upon the transparency issues around it, this could be something that we can all have for the country, for the region. And then the promise of we banning our minerals, our critical minerals, the aspiration of we not having to export our critical minerals in their raw state will not just be aspirational, but could be a possibility for the country. Thank you.
Lunch has made people forget the rule. Charles is still. Thank you very much, Dr. Ofori. Now we have an expert chat. And Prof's presentation, Charles' presentation have set the context for that chat. The chat will be moderated by Ms. Alaka Lorenzo, who is the CSO advisor, Global Witness. Please let's welcome Alaka. She's still coming, so now you have energy, you've eaten.
You know, there's so much pressure when you're doing the last session and everyone has had lunch and they're just thinking about how to get a nap, but please bear with us. A few more hours and we'll be done with this. So I'll read Bright's profile. He's the president of Empedigree, a social enterprise working on 3 continents to transform supply chains for touching products such as medicines and agro inputs using technology and partnerships. Empedigree has secured billions of products from counterfeiting and protecting tens of millions of consumers around the world. Bright is also an ardent policy activist working in the interface of economic governance and social welfare. In pursuit of these causes, he has served as a member of the External Advisory Board, European Biopharma Company, UCB, and as vice president of APHRC, as a member of the boards of Salzburg Global and CARE International and on Microsoft Africa's inaugural advisory council. He's also served on successive World Economic Forum Global Agenda and Future Councils and was an inaugural TED Fellow and has held the Chen Fellowships at Harvard. He is a Thalberg Eliasson's Prize Laureate, a recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the African Innovation Foundation, and was one of MIT's Tech Review's 35 most impressive global technologies visionaries under 35 in 2013. He has written for the Harvard Business Review, Quartz Magazine, and the BBC Business Daily Show, and the Financial Times. In 2016, Fortune magazine named him as the 50th World's Greatest Leaders list. In 2003, he was awarded as a Bellagio Fellow to apply his series of inventions to the problems of the mineral supply chain, advancing a new equitable circular economy, protocol for green minerals, and critical to the energy transition and climate change. Please welcome Bright onto the stage.
Good afternoon. And when I got the message from my very good friends at ASAP to speak, they gave me a briefing that scared the hell out of me. The complexity of my subject is really daunting, and I have a very short time to try and make sense of it. But I hope that I don't disappoint my good friends. I'm just waiting for my slides to load, and there they are. Do I point? Okay, very good. Have to master. Very good. So before I start, I'm going to, remind us of a number of facts that all of us here are fairly familiar with if you are in this conference, and then try and integrate the facts, and then move on beyond trying to integrate the facts to having a conversation about industrialization using green power, and what that means from a value chain perspective, what that means from a transformation of development perspective. So this graph is probably very familiar to all of you, and it's fundamentally the discussion around the very significant fall in the generation cost of using renewable energy sources. So essentially, you want to produce power. These days, we have these renewable energy sources like wind, onshore and offshore, solar, geothermal, etc. And this graph shows that since 2010, the cost of producing a unit of power using solar has dramatically dropped. This is something that we all know. To the point where today, if you draw a chart like this and you look at the generation cost of power, and you kind of layer it around and you look at the conventional fuels that we all know, diesel, coal, the ones that we are familiar with, and you stack them against renewable power sources like offshore wind, onshore wind, solar, and the rest, you're kind of surprised at how well renewable energy sources are performing. So this is well known. It's well known that the cost of using solar, the cost of using wind, etc., to produce power have dramatically dropped. Okay. We also know that increasingly there are people that will give you money because you are using renewable power. So essentially, these green bonds, a good chunk of the green bonds are focused on projects that generate power cleanly or power using renewable energy sources. So it means that not only is the cost of producing power using renewable sources dropping, the availability of finance to finance projects to use those renewable energy sources to produce power cheaply is also increasing. That's another fact. Another fact that is also very important is that the regulations in important regions of the world are moving in sync. The carbon border adjustment mechanism is essentially an arrangement in the European Union that when you are bringing goods into the European Union, they would look to see how much carbon you produce as a by-effect or a side effect of the goods that you produced. And then they will charge you. So what you are seeing here is evidence that based on the CBAM arrangement that will come in force very soon, if you are exporting aluminium to the European Union, if you use fossil fuels like oil or gas or coal to produce the power that you use in making that aluminium, you'll be charged almost 4 times what somebody that used green power will be charged. That's what this graph is simply saying. And if you look at the current price of aluminum, that effectively means that as much as an additional 25% potential tariff will be put on the aluminum that you are bringing to the European Union. That's a huge incentive then to use green power to produce the aluminum. So that's another stylus fact for you to bear in mind. And now we know, integrating all these facts that I've just given you, that if you analyze energy intensity, if you take specific industries that are strategic segments in Africa where we have potential to do industrial transformation around, like cement, like steel, like aluminum, etc., if you do that integration, you begin to find some best fit power sources, and in some instances, the renewable sources like solar and the rest are great fits. So long as you can handle things like intermittency and the rest that I will talk about in a minute, so you look at the resilience around steel, for instance. If you look at the resilience around cement, where you use solar power for daytime grinding, and then you kind of adjust the load for thermal processes, etc., we have enough facts now to know that this is possible. You can indeed integrate renewable energy grids into industrial hubs, including some of the special economic zones that Professor Ofori was just talking about, etc. And you probably will be competitive because, as you can see on the aluminum side, your adjustment in terms of tariffs, which is essentially the carbon tariffs that the EU is imposing and the rest of it, provides you with an edge over those that are using conventional power. Essentially, that's what the integration of those facts that I just gave you tell us. And we see some movement on the ground already. I mean, it's not radical, but we already see some evidence. As you can see in Ghana, for instance, we've done our Bui hydro thing, where we've done hybridization, we've added solar and we've added hydro to, in essence, provide a base load. We've also minimized the use of land by allowing floating, etc., etc. So there's that thinking around integration of the different elements, particularly the advantages, the edge, etc., to get best fit, which is all I've been trying to explain, that the different facts are important, but it's when you integrate the facts together that you get best fit. And I'm trying to prove to you with this chart, with various projects around Africa, that there's already some signs that we are seeing this across the continent, even though it's early days yet. This is just me trying to deepen the intuition that I'm trying to build around this issue of how you arrive at best fit. So from green ammonia all the way through cement, aluminum, and how those integrations work, where the grid is effective with storage, etc., etc. I don't have, obviously, the time to try and go into the modeling, but this is just a quick snapshot to give you a sense that, this is moving on. And of course, there's a geopolitical context. And that geopolitical context, I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm just going to be very descriptive and paint out that geopolitical context. One geopolitical context is the simple fact that if you think of us in Africa right now, we have massive emissions headroom. In a way, that's a bit counterintuitive because here I am talking to you and trying to say that there is some facts that show that renewable energies can be paired with industrial potential. But I'm also now telling you that even if 2035 was to arrive today, and the target that has been set for the world around carbon emissions control, Africa is already way ahead of that. We are doing maybe 0.8 or so tons of carbon a year. The target's around 2.35 tons or so. We have huge headroom, and that headroom is what you see with the orange line. So, except in Morocco, every African country on this chart is producing less carbon than the 2035 target requires. My argument that it's counterintuitive is based on the point that why are we even talking about green power? But there's a reason why I'm talking about green power, and that will all become clear in a minute. But the geopolitical context is important because often we use this to bargain as part of our strategic bargaining on the continent to talk about the fact that we have this emissions headroom we are not using. How are we going to monetize that headroom? It's a point that I'll make further down the line. Then there is the geostrategic trilemma. So a trilemma is simply, you've got 3 options, but you can only do 2 of them. Or you have got 3 pressures, you can only manage 2 of them. Right now, around the world, I don't think many people deny that there are 3 major hubs or nodes of geostrategic power. There's the European Union, there's China, and there's the US. And of these 3, they are pulling in different directions. China wants to maintain industrial production edge. The European Union wants to be a regulatory superpower, especially around green, so they are forcing us to adopt these green standards. The United States is pulling the direction of reshoring and global value chain centralization, essentially, which complicates our ability to industrialize because global value chains is the order of the day. So if you start to splinter and to fracture global value chains, it gets very difficult for new industrializers because we need to bring things from all over the place to produce. These trilemmas, the argument that I'm making is that you probably could do 2 of them and never all 3 at the same time. And that also provides a geopolitical constraint in terms of what's possible. So you can see the description that I've tried to provide, which has implications for what you do in terms of how you select your industries, your strategic segments, etc., which I'll come to in a minute, maybe during the chat. Then you say, okay, but it's not these 3 regions alone. I mean, we now see the Gulf are in play. We see Turkey is in play, Brazil, India, and the likes, which so-called BRICS. So how can you just tell us just 3 hubs? Well, actually, if you analyze it deeply, you can still find that these different players play one of these hubs. And it's just when you add the inclination towards certain standards, is whether in some cases they have explicit alliances like China and Russia, and they have the same approach to how they do engagement, etc. So in effect, what I'm trying to say to you here is that even though there are other regions and countries in play, the trilemma is still valid. The other very important point to me is then to take the lessons we've learned to date. Because I've said a lot of things that at this point we have to start to interrogate. Say, okay, you are trying to suggest that, it's actually viable theoretically to use renewable energy to advance Africa's industrial agenda. You've also suggested that there are global opportunities and constraints, and those global opportunities and constraints can be then layered across the industrial agenda, and therefore we can determine, whether our strategic advantage lies with a particular end of this hemisphere, which is China, US, or the EU. So given all of that, what does that really mean in practice? I think before we get what does that really mean in practice, we have to review and say, why are these theories not playing out? I think that's more important. So to do that, we just have to first of all recall that wherever there's opportunity, there's also risk. And everything I've said so far, hint more towards the issue around opportunity or the opportunity end of the spectrum. The risk is, of course, the fact that you have serious intermittency in relation to renewable energy. They are dependent on weather. Of course, there are some renewable energies like green ammonia and things like that are not dependent on weather. And that provides you an interesting dynamic. But you have to start off with the popular ones, solar, wind, geothermal. Geothermal is not necessarily dependent on weather, but it depends on natural processes that are not within your control. And certainly wind and solar are. There is also the fact that you have to think of this in systemic terms. What are the great implications for integrating these new source of energy mean? And you have to think about infrastructure beyond the grid. All of those create interesting risk dimensions that I call WACC magnification. What does that mean? It's very simple. So weighted average cost of capital is your simple way of looking at cost. And I'll come back to cost again. And the fact that you cannot rely only on the cost of generating the power. Because when I showed you that earlier graph, I said the levelized cost of energy or electricity is getting low for solar. Hey, end of story. No, not end of story. You have to think of what does the intermittency, the fact that the solar goes to 0 in the evening, what does that mean for the grid? What a new investment do you have to push into the grid? You You have to look at the fact that because often you have to put the solar where you can get most sunlight, it's not always close to existing transmission infrastructure. What does that mean for indirect costs? So when you add all of those through, then you come to this notion that for a lot of these renewable energy opportunities, you have to think of them in corridor terms. You have to layer other mechanisms on top of them in order to deliver power in a particular corridor. And that corridor may, of course, be an industrial corridor, such as a special economic processing zone or something like that. And it's that corridor effect which magnifies the cost of capital. What do I mean? What I mean is that as you add the different elements that make it work, the individual cost of capital related to the different elements start to amplify. They start to add together and to magnify. And this is something that we often ignore, and that is why sometimes it's so difficult to get these renewable energy powers. So essentially, you need to synchronize a number of things at the same time. You need to synchronize the fact that you are producing the power with new grid dynamics, with new infrastructure, and it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Maybe sometimes even transportation infrastructure comes into play in that particular corridor, and that makes the costs higher than you thought. And because that makes the cost higher than you thought, I argue for my first insight that the cost of capital is controlling. Controlling is a legal term that lawyers like a lot. So you say, okay, we're going to do a deal. There are about 4 different jurisdictions. All of them have their legal or their law, jurisdictional law applying. Which one is controlling? Which one is dominant? So when I say the cost of capital is controlling, what I'm trying to say to you is that all the analysis that I did, the key insight I'm trying to point out is that one of the reasons why we don't yet have abundant renewable energy fueling industrialization is the cost of capital. Is the controlling element in the analysis. And I've already explained to you why it's controlling, but here is an example of all the key renewable energy projects in Ghana. That's what you are looking at on the screen. And if you look at all of them, it's interesting that actually about 77.5 or so have been delivered. We've actually built them. These are 22 projects, sample of 22 projects. And 77% is a very high number. But actually, it's only the small projects that have actually been delivered. So what that effectively means is that even though we've done 77% of the projects, they tend to be small projects. So when you look at the megawattage, you look at the power output of all these projects together, about 70-something% have not been delivered. Essentially, if you took all the power that these projects would generate, and you look at those that have not been delivered versus those that have been delivered, 75% of the power that could have come from these projects were not delivered, is what I'm trying to explain. And in most cases, when you do, okay, this is just breaking down the different projects into their different segments. So you have the standalone, the ones that are embedded in enclaves and things like that, and then you have the grid level projects. This was just by the way, so you get a sense of which kind of projects are in Ghana, for instance. Now, the other dynamic around the fact that only the small projects have been delivered is that you have your integration costs go up. And your integration costs go up for simple reasons that if you have multiple projects and you have to integrate them into the grid, your intermittency management becomes more difficult. You have a lot of solar plants, there are plenty of them. How do you manage your dispatch order, for instance? How do you determine which one you push, which one's production you push into the grid at what point and the likes of it? So that subscale arrangement have additional costs, which often we don't consider. And all of that then leads us to the point around the cost of capital. There's a weighted average cost of capital again brought back. But this time, what I've done with that weighted average cost of capital is that I've given you a better indication of the risk profile per country and per source of power. And I've shown you that, if you look at cost of capital, despite what many people will think, actually hydro is very interesting. You see what I mean? Across most countries. And surprisingly, solar, which started off looking really exciting, start having some challenges in specific countries like Nigeria and the rest of it. So this is just to show you that once you start looking at the cost of capital across the system as a whole, it amplifies. That takes away some of the advantages. In the earlier chart, when I was trying to explain to you that solar has become very cheap, because I was not considering the indirect cost of delivering solar, then different countries somehow do it differently. So you end up with a grid like this that shows you that different power sources, renewable power sources, work well in different countries. And that's, of course, important. But more important than just that is that when you then do a side-by-side comparison, you can start to see why Africa is not uniform. Some countries will do better with the renewable energy strategies than others because of the cost of capital alone. And I'm just looking at cost of capital. But then remember that earlier on I just said the cost of capital is controlling, because I wanted to prove to you that even with cost of capital analysis alone, you can begin to see which countries are ready and which are not, which you can go further in by looking at success triggers. What makes some particular projects work and don't work, what makes certain countries able to deliver on certain projects and others not able to deliver, and how the different levels of risk mitigants, like donor financing, like the use of guarantees, how do they all play out at a different level of project scale and structure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of analysis you can do even with one simple lens, and the question is whether we do this analysis and whether that informs us. And I'll come to that again in a minute. And of course, the failure drivers are pretty clear. You know, from what I've said so far, financing challenges are number one because cost of capital is controlling my analysis. But regulatory is also an issue. And you can see projects that have failed due to regulatory and permitting delays, like in Zima Solar and Aitepa Wind. And then, you know, in some other parts of Africa, you know, you can see that even grid connection constraints have become hugely important. So we know the facts, and the data is beginning to give us very great clarity about what works and what doesn't work. This is just a case study that you can all go and look into in Zima. It was said to be the biggest, you know, solar plant in Africa. It was going to be based in Ghana, and then it didn't work out. It didn't work out primarily because they wanted a government consent and support arrangement, which is more or less a sovereign guarantee, and they didn't get a sovereign guarantee, and just for that reason, the whole thing dismantled. So that's a combination of regulatory and finance in that sense. I don't have the time, obviously, to go into the complexity that then arises in the different levels of scale and the rest, but that is also something important that in the future, for those of you that are interested, I will advise you to kind of go in. Because for green power industrial plants, the size and the complexity of the projects are hugely critical. Minimum efficient scale is what you see on the x-axis, and what you see here is the complexity score of the project. And that allows you to look at different types of activities within an industrial enclave that might work, where electrolyzers might work, where copper cathode, where aluminum will work, et cetera, et cetera. Because of time, I'll just rush through and say that for mega corridors, which we have enough now in Africa to be able to start to collect data and to compare, West Africa Power Pool, Lobito has been mentioned, the various AU, PIDA projects, all of the mega corridors is essentially just an enhancement of the scale that I've already discussed, which is simply you have multiple projects that must synchronize to deliver the outcome. Lobito won't work if the rail is not working, if the power is not working. So you have multiple projects, all of them with their different risk profiles, all of them with their different weighted average cost of capital profiles, and then you integrate them and you get a chart. The question is whether or not that degree of technocratic depth can be matched by the politics. Because it's already getting very complex as you are looking at this stuff. But this is what we have to do as a continent and then elevate that into the politics to make it work. And that's a challenge. Okay, so the examples of countries where even though standalone projects make sense, but once you lay on the other costs, immediately the cost of capital shoots up. Tacotel in Ghana, which has failed. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but that was a major port complex that was supposed to link into multiple areas, including energy in Takoradi area, which didn't work out. We have other projects like SGR in Kenya. Those of you from Kenya will be aware of it, which have not delivered their promise because once you start to look at the resonance dimensions, a lot of these costs goes up dramatically. And that also then gives you a heat map of readiness. You know, how ready are we in the different countries across the different layers that I've mentioned? You can see that, you know, Ghana, seems to be, shall I say, not doing well in midst of the categories because the yellowish is doing well. So if you don't see enough yellowish kind of thing, light green, yellowish in your country's thing, then you can see that along the different dimensions of institution, industrial demand, finance, and the rest that I've been talking about, all these layers of analysis to show you whether or not your country is ready to do what we are saying, using renewable energy for industrialization, this is what you get. Okay, now I changed my mind from the cost of capital is controlling to my final insight. Policy is controlling. Because if you have been listening to me very carefully, all I've been trying to tell you is that, yes, the cost of renewable energies are going down dramatically, but to get them to work, you need a lot of thinking and analyzing multiple factors, synchronizing them to get that cheap power. That is not cost of capital. That's policy. Policy is extremely critical. And my view is that politics is what the country wants, what the people want, what the politicians want. That's politics. Policy is how you do it. And how you do it dynamic, if you want to do it right, requires a lot of analysis. We have not touched, we've just scratched the surface, but it's already clear that there's a lot of analysis that you require if you want to be able to get to these things in a way that really delivers outcomes. So here, an example of policy drivers, export competitiveness, because otherwise you don't get the carbon border adjustment mechanism in the EU, that carbon tariffs benefit. You have to figure out your fiscal arrangements, your value chain arrangement, your grid reliability, private capital for growth. All these are critical. And all of these are multiple policies for a simple grid. So you just want to build your solar power plants. You can't care about this stuff. It's too much. And you shouldn't. It's the job of the policy infrastructure in that country to deliver that outcome for you. But my point is that if they don't, your power plant will not work. And so I close by giving you a simple rubric, a kind of framework called the GridFit framework, which kind of lay out the different elements that I've been discussing so far in a more integrative structure, which you can use to evaluate whether or not your policy environment in your country is ready for the use of renewable power for industrialization. And in many cases, the answer will be unpleasant. But if you do it, you get something like this. And in some of these instances, you can actually put the projects back on that grid to look at bankability and to look at integration and to see where the project lies. And you see that very few projects are hitting the sweet spots. I don't have too much time, but I'll just point out that if you apply that to the aluminium hubs that we have in Ghana, which is the longest running industrial hubs in Ghana, and say, can renewable energies do anything in that space? Yes, GridFit gives you some enhancers, as you can see down there, around the backstops, around aligning standards, figuring out how you can do your anchor power purchase agreements, etc., all integrated, etc. And then if you do the same for PetroHub, which I'll come in a minute, you get the same. One interesting thing that I wanted to pull out of that dense information is that when you look at the energy intensity alone as a benchmark for the aluminum industrial complex we've been trying to create in this country for a long time, just energy intensity, it's surprising how massive the gap between going straight to doing primary aluminum versus doing alumina and then using recycling aluminum as part of your cost abatement strategy. So clearly what this tells you is that the energy intensity of primary aluminum is so massive that maybe it still makes sense to go back to the strategy of sending the bauxite somewhere, bringing the alumina back, and refine the alumina. Unless you can bridge the gap using the GridFit mechanism that I just explained to you. So that's how the GridFit then comes in. And they can do the same analysis also for the PetroHub. In short, the solutions are there, but sometimes the problems are more profitable.
The mic. Yeah. Oh wow! Thank you, thank you, thank you very much for that presentation. I think I'm very happy to see that my country is actually ready to take. Yeah, as a Kenyan, yeah, I should just slide that in there. Yeah, I just need to slide that thing there. So, just one question. I know you've mentioned about the trilemma, which really caught my attention, and I know the trilemma also has. I know that for us to be able to create proper value chains, now talking about the trilemma, there's a need for partnerships. So what kind of collaborations do you think, because you've talked about the politics, which normally takes the day, so how do governments now bring in private sector and now the international players, for us to be able to have critical technological transfer? Because as much as we are, as you said, somewhat ready for business, we need to actually go back to the drawing board and to see what is fit for Ghana. What is fit for Ghana is not what is fit for Morocco. And the same as you said, what is fit for Zambia is not the fit for South Africa. So what do you think partnerships can be able to do in this case?
Perfect. So I think it's very important that we recognize the fundamental tension between business and policy. Most of these things we're talking about, business people have to do them. Very rarely as countries, as states, building factories, to do industrialization anymore. So if you go to Kenya, come to Ghana, very few people are asking for the government to set up factories. So it's going to be business.
Yeah.
Okay. Yet, what I've tried to explain here is that if you left it to the business person, the coordination and the collective action aspect cannot be solved. I mean, can you imagine a business person sitting there going through the kind of analysis that I was trying to go through to show where it's best fit? That doesn't make sense. A business person look at the opportunity and they respond, which means they look at the signals. And that is why you have to organize your policy environment properly for the right signals to be felt by businesses. So as they respond to the business signals, they are also doing the collective good. Okay. So when it comes to partnerships with the likes of the EU, China, and the rest, it's the same issue.
Yes.
If I'm, someone in Ghana and all I'm interested in is, okay, this power grid has become unreliable in some days. I just want some nice backup power. So I want to set up some backup power and I want to produce wood products, wood chippings, or furniture, and I want to export the furniture. It's not my job to do a strategic dashboard and figure out, is it China, is it US, apart from looking at who will buy the products. So all I need to do is a market analysis. Where is the importer going to buy my furniture from? Okay. Now you are saying that, okay, but at the end of the day, somehow we have to look at the different regions and how their different policies intersect with ours.
Yes.
It's definitely not the business person's job. It's somebody in the government, it's somebody in the industry association, etc., who may be working with the government can do that. So the point I'm trying to make is that there has to be a way in which, in coming up with that strategy, let's say we decide that we're going to go with EU and China. That's our trilemmic choice that we've made. In that mechanism, the signals that we give to the businesses must be clear. To do that, that means that, okay, you say, okay, EU and China, how do that intersect? Because you made that choice based on some parameters why you think the US doesn't play in this game. If you do that, and if the goal is, for instance, what I know for sure, Global Gateway has money, they don't have projects, and I'm doing furniture, how does the government then set up Global Gateway in Ghana in such a manner that, having done the industrial surveying, it knows that multiple businesses in Ghana can respond to Global Gateway? That's what we are missing. So we go, for instance, to the EURU and we say, okay, you are doing Global Gateway, that's very nice. We have some meetings with them, and we end the story.
Yeah.
We don't move to the next stage as a government of saying that I'm going to have a set of industrial clusters ready to jump on. So as soon as we finish with Global Gateway in Ghana, 1 or 2 pharmaceutical companies are selected, and then we said, okay, there was COVID, they will produce medicine. How does that fit into our strategic matrix? Zero work done. So in that regard, it's not surprising, therefore, that all the Global Gateway projects, including the pharmaceutical ones and the rest, are not moving quickly enough in Ghana. And it's the same with green energy-driven industrialization. You need to do the policy work effectively, and then after that, you have to disseminate it through your business and industrial community. And having done that, then you are able to position the partnerships effectively. Because signing MOU is not a partnership. 90% of the time, what we do is we go and sign big agreements, China, Malaysia, everybody. We haven't done the strategic matrix. So when we finish, we are not able to disseminate it through the business community, and we keep it in the ministries. Yes. So that's the problem. Yeah. That really is the problem.
Okay, now speaking on that, I think bringing in the element of the AFCFTA, because a lot of conversation have been said, okay, fine, this is a game changer, but it's never taken off. A lot of it is still on paper, but it's still, it's very difficult to take off. Let me give you an example. If today I want to buy gold from Ghana and I want to take it to Tanzania, for example, and mount very practical example, maybe a gemstone, a Tanzanite, it'll be easier for me, don't come for me, to smuggle that gold in my suitcase, to take it to Tanzania and have that gemstone on top. But if I want to go through the right way of getting the paperwork, it'll take me probably a year by the time I get that gold all the way to Tanzania to mount, Savorite. And that's what we're thinking about, how to, create regional value chains. And you've mentioned about, here you said, oh, fine, the partnerships can work, the trilemma of the EU, the US, and China. What about locally? How are we going to figure this thing out?
No, you're absolutely right. I think the Africa Free Trade Area, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is critical. The problem is, before we had the AFTA, we had our regional blocks,
yes,
which were already free trade areas. Now, if trade within those blocks were not effective, layering something on top of it is not going to make a difference, right? If you are not, somehow ECOWAS were not trading intensively among ECOWAS members, it's kind of a leap of faith to say that if all of a sudden you add AFTA, then I'm going to start trading with Madagascar. I'm not trading with Togo, right? Sometimes that helps because the product space expands. So maybe Togolese people don't like Ghana chocolate, but for some bizarre reason, people in Madagascar love Ghana chocolate. So that's possible. But the likelihood that if you don't have your original free trade areas working, somehow just laying another one on top will change the problem doesn't make sense. And I think all of us agree. The second one is that in other regions where this has done really well, Europe, over 60% of Europe's trade is within Europe itself, right? We are about 20%. Now, in Europe, multinational corporations played an important role. Think of Airbus integrating the regional aviation and aeronautical manufacturing market or aerospace market. So the lack of multinationals has been very interesting because if you look at services, where we do have some multinationals, banks, telcos, we are seeing increasingly some services integration. Some of the banking services, the fintech, and we're beginning to see slowly that there's some pickup. So we have to think about the multinational element, which then tells us that because we are primarily an SME economy, we have small and medium enterprises, we cannot use the European blueprint or the blueprint that I've worked on Mercosur and others, where significantly we have more multinationals. So you need to figure out a way for small businesses to trade across borders. If small businesses are going to trade across borders, then it's exactly what you said. There has to be accountability at the border. And I think accountability at the border is a chicken and egg problem. You need the people that are struggling to be the ones that says, no, I don't want to pay a bribe at the border and I'll make it a political issue in my country. But they are not enough, right? Today, there are not enough of them crossing. And too many of those crossing are illiterates. I'm not using that derogatorily. I'm just saying that they don't know what they don't know. So a lot of the people that are trading across borders are informal traders. So how are they going to build a lobby? And I think that is where we struggle in Africa. We have too many instances where the people that are suffering cannot form a lobby. And my sense of it is we have to figure out what it would take to stimulate the formulation of lobbies for AfTA. There have to be people, groups of people in Kenya, in Ghana, whose livelihoods, whose fortunes depend on AfTA working. Because if that doesn't happen, then we're not going to see it. If there is the lobby in Ghana, if there's nobody in this audience who's going to get rich because of AfTA, it's not going to work.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll not bother him with many questions. I'll open it up for some questions. So, oh wow. Kojo? Okay. There's a gentleman who put up his hand right at the back. He was the first one.
I've been advised to hold the microphone, so coming to you.
For you by this right, fine. Okay, good afternoon. Thanks so much for your presentation, Bryce Simmons. I'm Joseph Esando Yudu, Doctor, former policy director for Director of Policy and Energy Commission. Fine. Just a comment. On the Inzima solar project, is it 500 megawatts or something like that? 155. Five what? 155. 155, yes. The question is Inzima, that's Western region. The forest. You see, look at the one even at the, if you're going to Cape Coast, the Winneba one, that's 20 megawatts. Taking about 10 hectares, 20 megawatts. You wanted to build this thing over here, destroy the forest. And we said, no. The forest itself is what? Carbon capture. So no, if anything, let's take it up north, the country. Where is Sahel? Do you see? Savannah side there. And that's why you have even this agro-PVCs that have come. Now, yes, that's all. And then they ran away. Only that they had the advantage using international media, BBC and other broadcasting it. I don't know how they got that. This is fine. Then the second was the Aitepe thing. You know, Ghana here, we don't have that much wind. In fact, we had a lot of wind over here. We will have the tsunami and others over here. Do you see? Because we will have nothing like Sahara desert. There will be enough energy to drive the water vapor clouds over there, but less wind. So over there is about 10 meters per second. Not this is every kind of thing. So we're saying, and the amount we are going to charge is about between 18 to 20 cents per unit. Now, if we now pump it to the grid, the transmission, how much will it cost? It's more expensive. So no, so wait. And besides, for the solar, the renewables, because at a certain point, I'm not blaming the government. There's some point that the grid can take a certain size at a time. And by your price, you have to wait. Hey, then they started using the media.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very
you are
much.
not part of it anyway.
Thank you very much for.
Should I respond to each one, or how do we do it?
We have a question from an online audience. Let's take that. So there's a question. What are your views on nuclear energy and its role it can play in Africa's industrialization? From Festus online. I think these two. Is there an extra hand? Yes. Then I'll take and then wrap up.
Okay, thank you very much. I saw Northern Solar Project, and it is stated that it needs upgrade. I just want to know, what does it take to upgrade it, and what is the current situation? Thank you.
Because this question is
VALCO, right? Two things. You not only have to improve the efficiency of the smelter, so he was showing you a chart there where, if you do primary recycling, primary smelting, you're talking about 13,000 kilowatt hours or 13 megawatt hours. At VALCO now, that is actually around 15, right? Between 13 and 15, if you work out the math and you translate that into money, it's quite a big number. But beyond that also is the price point. As in, if we were to dedicate, for example, hydro to the smelter, per the original Nkrumah and all of those plans, the cost of power for everybody else is going to go up. Now, the policy choice then becomes, do we do this? And we all say, okay, we are all happy to pay for extra electricity because this is a strategic thing that we need to do. That's the first point that I just wanted to add to his point. And then also related to that, the CBAM question. Again, if you look at VALCO's aluminum that they're producing, 80% of that actually goes to the EU market. And Brad made a point about CBAM and all of that. Again, if you possibly maybe used other energy forms, like the renewable, possibly comes down. But you need to pay a huge amount for the backup, the battery, and those solutions. And we've done some work around that, right? And you're looking at multiples of scale. In fact, it costs you more to even put the battery solution than the actual PV modules and whatnot, not including all the points that he's made about the compounded effects of the WACC and whatnot. So I think really to summarize the point he's trying to make, there are multiple complex factors here. Mm-hmm. I think part of the challenge that maybe him and all of us have sometimes is in these policy discussions, there's not an attempt to really get down to the details. What really works and what are the trade-offs? And are we prepared to actually sacrifice, in relation to the trade-offs? So that's just the point I wanted to add to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Alaka and Bright, you can take over.
Thank you. So, you'll answer the first question online?
Yes, I think I'll answer them in the order in which I remember them.
Okay.
So yes, I think the Gentleman from Energy Commission was right that Blue Energy, had a lot of regulatory issues, which is why I said the issue with Blue Energy was not entirely financial alone, but also a mix of regulatory and financial in terms of permitting. Now, they did go to the north with, I think, the solar park, which is a 100 megawatt project. Now here, the problem is that when I look at Blue Energy, when I track Blue Energy, it looks as if the company itself is dissolved. In the UK, it's gone bankrupt. So, you have risk that is also counterparty risk, the actual entity trying to do the project. Sometimes that also becomes a challenge. Sometimes we don't attract strong enough companies into the sector. Then we have to ask ourselves a question. I mean, if only desperados are coming into your market to do projects, whether local desperados or international desperados, and then maybe there's something that you are also doing that's giving off the signals that only desperados will do well. Then, in terms of the question around, so I think the gentleman from Energy Commission is entirely right.
Yeah.
We have to be careful that the narratives are comprehensive. Yes. Because after the investor, they will go and say what is most appealing. But I think the challenge is that they themselves, on the regulatory side, on the Energy Commission side, on the PURC side, and the rest, also don't tell the stories. I mean, there should be case studies that are public, so that we know, okay, this is what happened exactly with Aitepa, this is exactly what happened with Blue Energy Solar Power Plant, this is exactly what happened with Nzema, because we will use the data that we will find. And then sometimes, in my view, African policymakers struggle with rating agents, everybody else, because if your data is not available, you don't blame the analyst. So that's my first response. So I thank him a lot for the additional education that he gave us. I also thank Tio for enriching the discussion with actual numbers and analysis from the work that have been done around BESS, battery energy and storage solutions and things like that in the Ghana context. Regarding the issue around solar in the north, the northern projects, it's not just one project. There are a number of different projects there. There's Yendi Solar Plant, which I think is the only one that is almost operational, but I guess the gentleman from Energy Commission will know if it's been licensed and it's fully operational. The 259 megawatts Bui Power Authority and I think VRA and the rest have been trying to see whether they can work together around that multi-complex. It doesn't look viable as of this point, but the dream is there to hit about 259 there. I must point out the Hamatan tax. That's one piece of analysis that I don't see conducted at all. But I've seen some numbers from Niger, that's quite frightening. The loss of power in Niger from the Hamatan tax, essentially the dust bowls, is as bad as 20% in some periods. So you have peak load, 20% attrition. That's crazy. In Ghana, the numbers that I've seen range between 6% to I think 12% or so in the north. So even though the north is great, like the Energy Commission officer said, for hosting solar plants, the Hamatan conditions will worsen as climate change worsens. Mm-hmm. And that effect on solar in particular, photovoltaic and others, is important. Maybe concentrator solutions, I don't know the trade-off between moving from photovoltaic to concentrator, but we have to start to think about that because that climate change dynamic on Hamatan effects on solar will be important. Another point that I think was raised was nuclear. And certainly nuclear is very interesting because it's good for base load, and some of the intermittency issues that we're discussing will be addressed by base load. So even though nuclear itself is not cheap, I mean, I think in terms of capital cost, CAPEX, as a contribution to the LCOE calculation, the levelized cost calculation, I think when it comes to CAPEX, nuclear is one of the worst. There's upfront costs. So you need a lot of money upfront. Now the problem is that worsens cost of capital problems. You know, we build nuclear at 12%. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter what you do, it becomes really prohibitive. The question is whether we can mix them, which is why the hybridization point I was making about BUI becomes important. Because if you can mix them, you can plug in the small nuclear modular reactor into some broad complex, which has cheaper renewable energies with cheap OPEX. Then the OPEX, the operating cost, can offset the very high upfront capital cost of nuclear. The last point about nuclear is safety. We have a tendency not to be very good with protocols around safety. We can't get fires out of our markets. Just this afternoon, I hear that Swami in Accra, in Kumasi, the second city in Ghana, the second largest city in Ghana, one of the old markets there just burnt to ash. Now, if you cannot stop fire hazards in your markets where people are there, livelihoods are concerned, can we really trust safety protocols in a nuclear plant? Maybe we can. Maybe we can isolate it and the institutional arrangements around it is ring-fenced. So we are not using our standard way of doing protocol management in Ghana or Kenya or Nigeria. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Please, a round of applause. Thank you very much. So as I end this session, I want to read you something as we're going into the innovators bit and on the conversations of narratives and how we tell our stories. So while PayPal was figuring out email payments, Africa built M-Pesa. 66 million users, 270 billion processed annually, and Silicon Valley called it cute. In 2007, PayPal required bank accounts, credit cards, email addresses. Meanwhile, Kenya launched a system that worked on flip phones, no internet, no bank account, just a phone number. The West diminished it as a basic tech for unbanked people, but today, M-Pesa processes more transactions than PayPal did in its first decades. Here is what they still don't understand. M-Pesa wasn't just a mobile money, it was financial inclusion at scale. While Silicon Valley added features, Africa added humans to the economy. Consider this comparison. PayPal the first 5 years required a bank account, a credit card, an email, internet, wealth, Western banked innovators, faster email payments. M-Pesa only required a phone number. Everyone, farmers, traders, anyone with less than $5 could be able to get onto app. Innovation, meaning banking the unbanked. By year 5, M-Pesa had more active users in Kenya than PayPal had globally. In a country where 80% lacked bank accounts, M-Pesa gave millions first Africans financial identity. PayPal optimized convenience, and M-Pesa optimized existence. It wasn't just for Kenya. This model has spread across Africa, Tanzania, Egypt, Ghana, each country adapting, improving, innovating. While Silicon Valley keeps asking, but how can you make money from unbanked people? That is the wrong question. M-Pesa proved that inclusion is the business model. Today, mobile money in Africa processes 830 billion annually. So the question is that not cute, or that is the future? So my challenge to you today is that we as Africans have our own solutions on our own, and we can figure this thing out. If M-Pesa did actually figure this thing out, without email addresses, without bank details, innovation isn't just about making banks more comfortable, but it is unbanking the impossible. So over to you, my innovators, and over to you, Africa. What are you doing about it? Thank you very much.
You sit down.
Yeah. You can sit. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, stand. All right. Thank you very much, Brian.
Cheers.
Thank you, Alaka. Please let the club continue. Kojo's ground rule still stands until Alaka takes her seat. Thank you so much, Bright and Alaka, for that insightful session. So we are coming to the end of the session today, but we cannot do that, of course, without our innovation challenge. So this morning, I announced the 3 finalists. Let me rehash it again. We have Ashaba Ajara from Uganda. Please give her a clap. We have Aisha Salifu and team Ghana. Then, of course, Zimbabwe, Charlton Mandaza and team. So to help us, we are privileged to have Madam Chair of the jury. I will invite her here again to give us the rules for the day for the finalists. And let me also mention again that we have prizes for all 3 finalists. We have $3,000 for the ultimate winner, $2,000 for the first runner-up, and $1,000 for the second runner-up. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Ms. Doris Agbevivi, the chairperson of the jury. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's going to be an exciting one. Ahead, please, we cannot say Team Ghana. We cannot say Team Nigeria. We are not choosing by countries, please. And we are not going to play females or males tonight. Please, today we are only going for ideas. And we are rooting for the best ideas. So may the best idea win. I hope we agree. I mean, although I'm female, I hope we agree that may the best idea win. And nobody would chase me to the car park. Nobody would do anything to me today. I'm so excited to be here. Before we start, I'm just going to invite our fellow jurors on board. Dr. Sogbaji, if you're here, could you please join us by the table? Thank you. Please give him a warm clap. And Mugu, please, where are you? Muku, please, can you come up? Don't let me finish the whole name. Just please come up for me, Muku. Just do this for me. Is he around? Okay, whilst we wait for the next juror, we would speak about what we're going to do here today. Today we just have 3 people, so it's going to be exciting. You've heard our 3 finalists. Today we're going to look at how they're going to progress from their prototype to piloting the ideas that they pitched to us yesterday. There's going to be another round of pitches. We're going to be looking at the strategies for which they want to commercialize. We're going to look at how they're going to scale it and the competence. Today we're looking at presentation and everything, so I hope, okay, there comes our fellow juror. Muku, please, your seat is waiting for you. Please take your seats. Thank you so much. Please give him a round of applause. So once again, we're here, and all the timer, do we have timers set? Everything is set. Lessons learned from yesterday. Please, we'll be inviting all our participants on board. May I start with, do you want me to start with the 3rd runner-up or the 1st runner-up? Please choose. Who should come first? The 3rd. Okay, fair enough. The 3rd comes first. Why, though? I would go for the 1st. The 1st runner-up comes first. Ashaba Ajara, please, it's your turn to come and pitch to us. Hello, Mr. Shaba. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, I love your head. Yeah, it looks really good. Okay, are you ready to start?
I suppose so.
So we still have your 5 minutes to pitch, and we have 5 minutes to ask you questions. So you may begin, and in this case, you want to zoom in on the areas we are asking about. How are you moving from your prototype stage to scaling? I'm sure they've already given you a pitch on that, so everybody is aware of what we are expecting. So could you start? 5 minutes, timer up.
Thank you. I am going to start with scalability. The reduction of expenses. We have been trying to partner up with different organizations, some that are producing solar. We are working with a company called Village Solar, such that through a partnership, we don't really have to spend on that part of production. And then we are working on a partnership with Nabugabo Updale. Nabugabo is the biggest garbage collector in Kampala City. And with them on board, just like I covered yesterday, we have a 36-acre piece of land where the city drops the garbage. The other parts that they started working on them after the tragedy that happened last year. So because the garbage collectors have been struggling with where to have their plastics, they get to give us the plastics that we require at no cost. And that helps us with reduction in the cost of production. The second part is it's sort of a chicken game, but it's going to work. We are going to employ our customer base. They have been working very hard since the very beginning at being the collectors of the plastics that we use. When they do that, we pay them 500 Uganda shillings. That means that ultimately there is a reduction still in the price, yeah, because, and then those same people, they facilitate the marketing, because they are the women in slums and they are the women in refugee camps. And because of that, we don't really have to spend a lot of money on advertising and marketing and sales, yeah, because we can count on them to do that through word of mouth. And then our vision is solid. Other than the roof tiles, we are working on starting eco-green homes, the construction from the floor to the roof being purely out of plastic. Yeah, so we have trust in our vision that with the right marketing, we should be able to cover that. Our competition, once we get the marketing and selling off the ground, we don't really have to worry about that because our products, they come as two-in-one. You don't get that anywhere else in Uganda, so that gives us an edge. And with regard to that, the price is also really good compared to the available products on the market. We also, in the process of tracking for customer satisfaction using a USSD tracking system that should be able to inform us how our customers and clients and the prospective ones are feeling about our products. Also, we tend to carry out seminars, but they are really training. We train these women on how to handle plastics, and we also inculcate a sort of, there is a company, a startup, it's called Chuka Ventures. They make gas, so we go along with them such that we can train these women how to take care of the plastics and whatnot. I'm going to go to commercialization. I should rush before my time is up. Our tiles last 20 years. So they are they last 20 years, so that's durability. It is suitable, they are very suitable for rainwater collection. Yeah, we have tried that. The price, like I said, is really good. The cost of production, it's $1 each tile. So then the partnerships have been helping us. The dual purpose, we have a solar panel and a roof tile. Yeah, so people don't have to buy it separately. And then we have a direct to consumer sale. We don't need middlemen. And we have certified dealers in the refugee camps and some of the slums. And also money, we have been raising money from mostly ourselves, but so far we have raised a tad bit that can take us. Then with regard to the team, I am a co-founder. My background is law. We have Laura Kamira, she's in operations. We have Sheila Nanyonjo, she's the head of finance. We have Hamid, he's the CEO and he studied renewable energy. And we have Rest, who is in manufacturing. We have all been doing this for the past 5 years. And the rest, other than me, the other guys have been doing this same thing for 8 years. So in as far as experience is concerned, we are good.
Thank you so much. Please give it up for her. Thank you so much. So if you get the money from this project, which part of all that you've done are you going to scale up or use to change? What is this money going to do for you in terms of your operations after this win, if you do win?
We have secured enough plastics from Nabgawa Abdi, like I said. So now we are looking, we have a site that we have our eyes on, and we want to be able to rent that out as we work on our way to eventually pay for it. So if we get this money, some of it is going to go into that securing, renting that piece of land, and some of it will definitely go into sales. We have 28 people that have been trying to sell by word of mouth, but we want to be able to give them small facilitation such that they can get the work going a tad bit more than it's currently being done.
All right. My question is more on the maintenance after sales. You are done, you have installed do you offer any after-sales maintenance? And does it have a warranty of some sort? That's what yeah.
Yes, we do. The experience has been that the people that bought in 2022 came back last year and they contacted. We have maintained open communication channels because we go there on the ground once every 2 months to check on them. So the people that we installed in 2022 asked for a cleanup earlier this year in April. We have left that open. So far, we don't have a warranty on it. It's a service we extend to them. We haven't even started charging for it.
Thank you for your innovation. I was just analyzing the panel per tile, and I'm also thinking about wire-to-wire connection. That looks into a lot of wiring. How affordable is the installation to your target group?
Thank you. The solar company that we are working with offered to charge $10 for the wiring per housing. Yeah. So
per which acre, per which square kilometer, or no matter, or the whole house, no matter how big the house is, it's $10?
No, 25 tiles. So we sell a kit of 25 tiles, and per 25 they charge $10 to wire the house.
Okay. My house will take 2,500 tiles.
You have a big house.
Last, any challenge that you've seen so far during the pilot stage, and how do you see to surmount those challenges in expanding this project?
So the initial challenge was, again, our focus. Our focus was low-income households, and you realize that they don't really tend to, on the whim, be able to afford things like that, no matter how cheap they are. So the solution that we have come up with is installments. So they can pay 60%, and then they have the product, and they pay later as they are able to.
So just as my colleague was asking, so this is more of like a rent-to-buy thing for the low-income communities? Is that what you're targeting?
That is our target, but
Okay.
because the product is unique and really good, we have people that are able to afford tiles separately and solar separately that have opted for it. But the initial target was that we'd be able to light the houses of refugees and low-income marginalized groups.
In terms of scaling and in terms of making more money, commercialization, do you hope to also expand your niche group away from the low income into maybe middle income or other areas? Is that a plan for expansion?
Definitely. It already started. In May, we visited, there is a district called Mukono. It's in the central part of the country. We visited and we demonstrated our products. We are looking at scaling, but not just in Uganda. We want to extend to some parts of Western Kenya and then Rwanda.
Right, okay. Is there the rainwater collection part? It was interesting. Do you have a partner that you work with on the rainwater collection? I know you have 10 seconds to answer.
We have been in discussions with people that sell tanks. We haven't been able to land a partner yet.
Thank you so much, Ashaba. Your time is up. Please give it up for Ashaba. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we invite on stage Carlton Mandaza and his team. Carlton, please give it up for Carlton. Okay, please, we can do better than that. Please encourage him. I think today you don't need to play any videos. We can just go straight to the game so that we can. Thank you. Over to you. Time.
Okay, let me just test the technology. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are H2 Energies, and we are presenting to you the HydroStove 1.0. So just to recap from yesterday, we noted that in Zimbabwe we are losing 262,000 hectares of forest every year, but this is largely driven by dependence on firewood, which sees 11 million Zimbabweans without access to clean cooking fuel. So what we asked ourselves was, despite there's so many clean cooking technologies, why do Zimbabweans still don't have access to clean cooking? So what we noted was that the challenge is that with the conventional technology, you need distribution infrastructure such as road networks, as well as, let's say, for example, power distribution cables for electricity. And what we noted with that was that we can build a technology that can bypass these, and that's where we came up with the HydroStove 1.0 that combines sunshine and water to produce hydrogen cooking gas, which is emission-free, and also offer faster cooking times, which is affordable and also safer. And sorry, I think they put a different slide up.
Okay, I think you can just go on to scalability, commercialization. Just put it through. Go fast.
Okay. The slide is different, actually.
Scale. How are you going to scale?
All right, so for our target market, we are targeting the rural households as well as the urban technocrats because they are the ones experiencing the problem. And as for our business model, we're using what we call the pay-as-you-cook model because we want to make our customers pay in installments if they cannot afford it in full. And then as for our go-to-market strategy, we are using our power plant, and then we use existing retailing workshops, which will distribute it to our customers. And then the next thing is the partners that we have. We have Mercedes-Benz, we have Ashoka, we have European Union, and these are also providing us mentors that are helping us building this technology that we have. And then finally, the people that are building the stove is myself, Leroy Magora, and our team from Ashoka. So we just summarize this because our slide that we shared is not exactly what is here.
But you still have 2 minutes, so if your slide is on your phone now, you can still take it up. Take it up from there. You have it on your phone, right? Go.
Okay, so what we've done so far is we've tested the products for, let's say, cooking times, as well as, for example, heating values, etc. Then after that, we went on to actually do a user validation where we had one user run through the stove using it to see if they can cook without us interfering, also with them feeling safe, etc. So after doing that, we went on to work with a broader group where we had 10 women come in to a session that we had. So before the session, we did a questionnaire where we collected certain data that we were interested in, finding with their current experience with their cooking technologies that they are using. And also one thing to note is that this group, we selected it to represent different demographics in terms of age, income, as well as where they come from. For example, rural, peri-urban, as well as urban areas. Then at the end of the session, we also collected some insights that they would want us to work on in terms of our second coming prototype. So some of the insights that we took out, we took 3 big insights. So one of them was that they need a bigger burner in terms of large family size and also functions that people host at home. Then also we noted that there was a misconception between LPG and hydrogen. Since once you mention gas, people quickly go to hydrogen. Then largely, yeah, that's it that we have here.
And the last thing that we can tell you is the price of our products. We have 2 types of products. We have the HydroStove Slim, which costs about $50 per unit, and we have the HydroStove Pro that costs about $100. So the difference is how fast you produce hydrogen gas per minute. And yeah, the next thing was what are our next steps? Our next steps, we want to build the HydroStove 2.0, which incorporates new features such as the hydrogen storage. And then we also have to do safety adherence for commercialization, as well as implement our go-to-market strategy. Thank you.
Please, 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 let's give it up for him again. Thank you for pushing through despite your challenges. Thank you so much.
Pramastov, you know what that is. You have the unfortunate situation of having a Zimbabwean here. What's the pricing difference between a Pramastov and your stove, as well as a hot plate and your stove?
So with Pramastov, currently it's actually phased out, but we were comparing our own with LPG because it's our close competition. And then the same model costs about $40, and ours is a bit like $10 ahead. Okay. And that's upfront cost. There's no fuel for us. For them, they're fuel.
Yeah. Oh, please take us through your cost again. What did you say? You said you had $100 because the Prama stove I'm getting is about $25. Yeah.
Okay, so we have two. We have what we call the Slim, which is $50 per unit, upfront cost, and then the other one is $100, depending on the speed of hydrogen production. And that's only upfront. There's no need for any other fuel. But for Prama stove, you have to buy fuel maybe monthly or something. And from our research, yearly households in Zimbabwe spend about $90 to $100 per year on cooking.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to see how you produce the hydrogen. I remember I asked this question yesterday, that I don't know whether you put the stove on the sun to produce the hydrogen, or there's an extension of a power source, or you plug the stove to produce the hydrogen. I've still not gotten a whim of how the hydrogen is produced. Because yesterday, the video you showed, you pour water, and then all of a sudden you are cooking. And my basic physics tells me no. So, talk to me.
Okay, so thank you for that. So yeah, it's powered by a solar panel. There's a solar panel behind it. So then it runs. So the stove is designed that it taps directly from the solar panel. So it's DC powered. So we have a rated power solar panel that's connected to it. Then you get the hydrogen coming out.
Where is the panel? Like, that's why I said, do you have to cook on the sun?
Okay. So on the installation, our team comes and installs it for you on the roof. Then what you just do with is the hydro stove, the clean cooking technology. That's where you just add the water. So our user, they are GenMap. They don't necessarily interact with the solar panel. We install it for you. Then what they do is to add water every day when the gas runs out.
So the solar, it's direct from solar to, what happens at night?
So we have storage. So
you see, so you're not answering the question correctly. That is what we mean. Because surely, if you're saying it's from the sun to, so you have an inverter as well. Is it an inverter or it's a battery?
So part of the technology, it comes with that. So our electrolyzer that we use, which is the proton exchange membrane for electrolysis, it comes with all the conversions that you need from maybe AC to DC. And then we have the metal hydride storage. So you're not storing it in batteries. You're storing the hydrogen itself for maybe in the evening and the other times.
Okay, let me take the question back to commercialization, and then we'll come back to this. Okay. With all your mentors and all that you've gotten so far, how do you plan to scale? Do you have any plans on how you want to sell this to the average person in terms of the numbers? Do you have any clients so far? Have you done any piloting? And how do you see this money coming into your expansion?
Okay, so far in terms of our scaling, in terms of the people interest, expression of interest, so we had a QR code to our website. We have an expression of interest form. So far, I think we have about 163 respondents, some even willing to pay for shipping to wherever they are. So for example, when we present like this, we live with customers. I'm sure we have 10 or so here or more. So in terms of the average people, the people we are targeting primarily those in rural areas. So we have two business models. One is a one-time kit purchases. We have affluent people like my brother, they're from Zimbabwe. You can pay in cash and buy it once off. But then from rural areas now, it may be hard for them to get cash. So we have a pay-as-you-cook model. And what our advisors are advising us, I was happy when I saw one of the target organization on the poster, UNDP. I heard they have programs where they subsidize, so they match the subsidy to household. So those are some of the models we are considering. I don't know if I answered that adequately.
Yes, you tried. And I think there are about 10 Zimbabweans here, so in a way you can get customers even if you don't win. So try to get some customers. He will be one of your customers. Thank you. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
May we now invite Aisha Salifu and her team. Aisha, over to you. Please give it up for Aisha. Please, let's do better for her. Hello, Aisha. Hello, Aisha. Are you here?
I saw her in the morning. So, I think I'm vindicated for being a judge and being late. But surely being a contestant and being late, yeah.
Okay, so do we get to deduct marks for her being late? Are we permitted to do that? There are too many lovers of Aisha here. I'm feeling that already. This is not going well for me. But she's late. Yeah, Aisha, you're late, so we're changing the rules at this point for Aisha. Aisha. Aisha, 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 Aisha. Please, Aisha, hurry up. We are waiting for you. Please encourage her to come up. Yes, Aisha, I think you can start, but can you please apologize to us for being late first?
I'll do that. Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting. We just had to do some few touches to our slides, and we lost track of time, sorry. Okay. While he gets the slides sorted out, I'll just give a quick overview of what we do, just in case not everyone was present yesterday. So we are providing solar-powered irrigation pumps to smallholder farmers on a pay-per-use basis, right? So for today, we are going to focus on our customer persona. So our customer persona is Mauli, who is based in Keita. Mauli is a hard-working vegetable farmer, but due to unpredictable rainfall, he tends to rely on costly and unsustainable irrigation systems, right? So in terms of the cost that Mauli incurs, Mauli spends about 2,500 Ghana cedis per month on grid-powered irrigation systems, and then he spends about 1,000 Ghana cedis on diesel-powered irrigation pumps. So what Mauli is seeking to achieve is to reduce irrigation costs, increase its farm yield, and also engage in farming year-round, and also have access to tech-powered irrigation systems. Next slide. So I've briefly touched on our solution. So a farmer has to request for irrigation system via phone call. They make payments, and the token is sent to them, and then they input the token into our controller and then starts pumping. Moving on to the revenue module. So based on the cost analysis we did with our customer persona, what we are looking to achieve is to cut down costs, irrigation costs for smallholder farmers by at least 50%. So based on that, we are providing these smallholder farmers with a solar-powered irrigation system on a rental basis. We are looking at these farmers paying 500 Ghana cedis per hectare per month. And they only have to incur an additional cost of a one-time purchase of pump accessories like hose. And that will be dependent on the distance of the farmer, the farm, and then the water source. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of the impact our solution will have, in terms of the economic impact, it would help increase farmer productivity. So instead of they having to spend more time on manual irrigation, they'll rather have to use a solar irrigation pump that would be much faster. And also, that would also provide them the avenue to farm year-round, since they don't have to rely on rainfall. That would also lead to a reduced cost in irrigation, because we are providing them with about 50% cut in irrigation costs. In terms of social impacts, the ability to farm multiple seasons within a year helps them increase their farm yield, which would also help strengthen food security and then nutrition.
So I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but please focus on commercialization and market readiness. So skip to that. Go straight to how you can commercialize this and this market readiness.
Okay. So please go back to, yes. So how we are going to commercialize this is that we are trying to eliminate the upfront cost for these smallholder farmers. So we are targeting agribusinesses and then smallholder farmers. So they don't necessarily have to acquire their own pumps, but we are going to acquire the pumps and rent it out to them. So in that sense, it's much easier for us to scale, because they don't have to bear the full cost that comes with the pump. And because we are working with agribusinesses, we are able to scale to a much larger farmer network. We are currently partnering with Wami Agro, which is a leading agribusiness, and they have over 12,000 farmers in their farmer group. So that provides us with enough options to explore these smallholder farmers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Yesterday, you were talking about scaling. You were talking about what you're going to do to scale. Can you enlighten us from now, where you've gotten to, got your prototype, how you're going to make that into something ready for the market?
Okay. So we've already placed orders for our pumps, and we are waiting for them to get in. We've partnered with Wami Agro to undertake our piloting. So for the piloting, we are going to work on a 50-acre rice farm with Wami Agro, and then we are also looking at working with another smallholder farmer, which was our customer persona, who is Mauli. He owns a vegetable farm, our 2 acres vegetable farm. So we are also going to work with Mauli. So working with these two different customers is going to help us validate our business model, and that would help us, once we do the pilots, we're able to validate the business model, and then that will give us the information that we need to scale into a bigger market. Dennis, do you want to ask something?
Hi, sorry, we're so much under pressure with everything happening. But just to answer your question on scalability, what we hope to do, well, solar pump is very scalable because you don't need gas to run it. So it's easy to scale in off-grid areas. First of all, that's one. Second of all, how we plan to scale is that with the pump suppliers that we're working with, we get a huge discount on larger MOQs. So that way we also cut down cost, and we're able to make our returns quickly. So it's easier to scale around. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
In a way it does, I suspect. But my question is, what's the 500 CD per hectare per month? What exactly is that price? Is that what you are charging? Is that what you are avoiding? Oh, so it's 500 hectares.
No, 500 CDs per hectare.
500 CDs, sorry, per hectare per month. Per hectare per month. And on a daily basis, there's no limit to how much water can be pumped within that hectare.
Well, in a way, there is a limit to how much water could be pumped, because you can't pump more than your crop deserves. So I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, but sorry?
Actually, I think that is what I'm asking. So how do you know what is required for each? So you are also supporting the understanding of which crops require how much to be irrigated on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just quickly on that, we have spoken to farmers, and he was saying that, so for instance, it depends on the season, it depends on your soil type. All of that would determine how many times you pump in. So yeah, like I said, it depends on all those factors. So you won't necessarily pump more than you need. And also the farmers have an understanding of irrigation. They've been doing this since the beginning of time. So we're not there to tell them that we're not there to regulate how they are pumping. We're just there to make it easier for them.
But
okay, and just to add up to...
But you're also saying it's pump as you pay as you pump, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if they have money, it's also limited on the amount of money they have to be able to. So you should also add that as a factor then.
Okay, that's noted. So just to add up to what he said, so usually it's averages around 40,000 to 60,000 liters of water to irrigate a vegetable farm. So those are still factors that would need to validate, but then those are the numbers we got from engaging with our prospective customers.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm still worried about the 500 Ghana cedi hectare per month, because if you are in the rainy season, I'll not need as much water as I need in the dry season. Why am I paying the same amount of money?
Okay, so you need about 40,000 to 60,000 liters to irrigate a hectare of vegetable farm, right? So if in a rainy season you don't need that much, the 500 cedis you paid is going to be calculated in accordance with the liters that is required daily. So in that sense, it's like you didn't use all that you paid for, so there's still enough in your prepaid. So just like how you have your ECG prepaid, if let's say, based on my own analysis, I know that I use 400 cedis of prepaid per month, and then for a particular month, maybe I traveled for like a week, and then I'm not able to consume the full 400 cedis of ECG. When I come back, I will still have enough. So then for seasons like rainy seasons, they will still irrigate, but then they will not end up irrigating the full liters that is in their package. So for 500 cedis, it could last them for more than a month.
Okay. My real question is the cost to the farmer, because you're only concentrating on the pump, but in irrigation, this is based on the scalability and then the market. The farmer has to get the pipes, the overhead tank, the sprinkler, and all the delivery systems. All you provide is the pump. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. So, if you look at the whole cost, I want to see the percentage cost of all this material for a typical, maybe the Mauli, who has a 2-hectare farm, and how much you provided to do all this infrastructure, and the cost of your pump in terms of percentage cost of the whole infrastructure. If you go to the bank to go and borrow to buy a pump, maybe that's what I want to understand. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just take that quickly. In terms of the cost.
You have a second to answer
Sure,
that.
I'll be quick. It costs maybe about $1,001 to acquire everything, including PVs, the controllers, all the hardwares, and shipping also about $400 per pump, but that's per pump. So in terms of, I think you were asking about
the percentage cost.
The percentage cost for us or the farmer?
For the total.
Yeah, so yeah, it costs about $1,001 per pump and everything.
Thank you so much. Please give it up for Aisha and team. So we'll leave it to you for now, whilst we do our.
Okay, so whilst the jury put together the marks, to save on time, we will invite Ms. Emily, a member of ASEP's board, to read to us the communique for the conference. Please, with a hand, let's welcome Emily.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope it's been an amazing 2 days thought-provoking sessions, right? So we're coming up with action points for the Future Energy Conference 2025. The Future of Energy Conference 2025 brought together stakeholders from across Africa and beyond for 2 days of rich dialogue on the continent's evolving energy landscape. The discussion spanned critical issues including financing the energy transition, governance and accountability, electric mobility, productive use of energy, methane mitigation, and Africa's positioning in emerging global value chains. Participants representing government, regional bodies, businesses, financial institutions, civil society, and academia explored practical solutions to ensure that Africa's energy transition is not only low carbon, but also inclusive, affordable, and growth-oriented. This document presents a synthesis of the key outcomes and action points from the conference. It highlights the shared priorities that emerge across sessions and clusters them into actionable steps for different stakeholders group. The goal is to move beyond conversation to concrete actions that can be tracked, measured, and scaled into in the months and years ahead. 3 top-level key takeaways. Africa must assert agency in the global energy transition. The continent cannot afford to be passive participants. Energy transition strategies, financing models, and governance framework must be shaped by Africa, for Africa, from Africa. It must be centered on industrialization, jobs, affordability, and long-term competitiveness. 2, energy access must drive productivity, not just connections. The next phase of electrification must prioritize productive use of energy for SMEs, agro-processing, irrigation, cold storage, and industry. Tariff reforms, targeted subsidies, and credit lines should stimulate enterprise growth, not simply provide kilowatts. Access must translate to livelihoods. 3, Africa must strategically position itself in emerging value chains, from EVs and batteries to critical mineral value chains. Africa must go beyond extraction and import dependence to capture value through standards, local manufacturing, skill development, and inclusive innovation. 4, financing remains the biggest bottleneck. Africa receives only a fraction of global clean energy investment, 2%. Innovative financing, example, blended finance, green bonds, hedging tools, and mobilizing domestic capital, must be scaled with governance safeguards to ensure transparency and accountability. 5, governance, inclusivity, and regional cooperation are non-negotiable. Strong institution, transparent contracts, and cross-border integration will determine success. Governments must embed communities, women, youth, and SMEs in design and ownership models. Civil society must hold actors accountable, and regional blocs must harmonize standards, pool resources, and leverage collective bargaining power in global forums. 6, synchronized industrial corridors. Renewable energy will only drive Africa's industrialization if it is embedded within synchronized industrial corridors, linking power, transport, and trade infrastructure, supported by coherent policy and financing. Technology costs are no longer the biggest hurdle. Policy alignment, grid reliability, and strategic partnership now determine competitiveness. Action points for stakeholders. For national governments, 1, pass binding climate/energy transition law with cross-party accountability to prevent policy reversals. 2, prioritize regulation and governance roles rather than direct state operation of energy businesses. Establish national energy compact with wide stakeholders' involvement. 4, mobilize domestic resources, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, carbon taxes for energy financing. 5, invest in distributed renewable energy for energy access and emission avoidance. 6, develop stranded assets conversion plan, example, old fossil facilities repurposed for renewables. 7, strengthen monitoring, reporting and enforcement, example, leak detection and repair measurement reporting and verification, with policy allowing cost recovery for emission abatement investment. 8, integrate renewable power into industrial corridor planning like rail, ports, grids, and SCZs. B, regional economic blocs, which are AU, ECOWAS, EAC, and SADC, etc. Integrate regional power markets and optimize cross-border energy value chains. 2, establish regional risk pooling mechanisms like tariff, political risk insurance, currency hedging platforms. 3, promote shared infrastructure model, interconnectors, refineries, regional exchanges. 4, lead collective bargaining on transition minerals to secure fair term in global markets. 5, facilitate regional R&D's hubs to strengthen African innovations and manufacturing. 6, facilitate lesson sharing on methane governance, aligning regional standards with EU and global regulations, establish a regional sales regulator stroke authority for harmonized permitting, standards and incentive. For private sector, businesses and NOCs, properly structure PPPs and IPPs with transparent contract and transaction advisors. 2, invest in local content and skill transfer in all joint venture. 3, adopt context-specific transition strategies, aligning with technical and financial capacities. 4, diversify portfolios, renewables, hydrogen, critical minerals, while decarbonizing existing operations, methane reduction, zero flaring. 5, refine business models to ensure long-term financial viability and scalability. 6, partner with government to co-design bankable industrial projects that integrate logistics, energy, and finance. Thank you very much. Good evening.
I'm still here. I haven't left. She's still not seated. All too soon, we are coming to the end. Is it too soon? We've been here for 2 days. We've had very interesting conversations, a few announcements. I think we have 2 things to do. We have the winners of the Innovation Challenge ready, and then we'll take closing remarks from the host. Before then, please make sure that when you are leaving here, you leave with everything you came with, and also leave everything you didn't come with behind. Secondly, please, the pictures that you are taking, feel free to tag ASEP on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Actually, let's do an exercise. Everybody go to Facebook and follow the Africa Center for Energy Policy right now, 1 minute. Pick your phones. Right now. There are some people who are still not following us. So please, I know you. Pick your phones. And please tag us in your pictures, in your comments. The only people who are excused from tagging us are the ones who have not informed their wives that they are here. You are excused from that activity. So the judges, are we ready? And also, when we close from here, after the closing remarks, we have some cocktail, some few drinks, and finger foods. I think it will be in the foyer for extra networking sessions. So please do stick and stay for that cocktail. Or have we overfed you? I saw some people have gained a little weight. So, Doris, are you ready for us? Okay. Please, have you finished liking the Africa Center for Energy Policy on Facebook, on LinkedIn? You can also tag me myself. My name is Kojo Yauche. You can find me. Send me. Is it Doc? Okay, so we'll take a small music interlude whilst the judges compile the final results. I hope that is fine. Hello, I'm back. So I am told that the winner of last year's Innovation Challenge is around somewhere here, and we want him to just share a few words of what the experience has been like and what he has been up to since last year. So if Mr. Samson Owusu-Bempah is here, please, you are invited to share. Is he here? Samson? Oh, you saw him yesterday. Huh? I thought I saw him around. Anyway, so we'll finalize with our judges and then so we are lucky Samson is finally here. So please, Joshua. Oh, so where is Samson? Okay, so come.
Hello. Thanks very much for the opportunity once again.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much. Last year was really a great experience. It was really a wonderful one, let me say so. Being an innovator is not an easy thing. So I say congratulations to all the innovators today. They have all done a good job. Once again, thanks to the organizers. We say a big thank you to ASEP as well. We won, as in a partnership with Mr. Owusu-Bempah, I in the person of Joshua Ananga. In the energy transition, yes, we have to do more, but we are all doing our bits. What we have been up to after winning the grant, it was a great opportunity. This was our stepping stone, actually, and the first grant we have ever won as a partner. So we moved from this award that we won, this grant that we got, and then we took it a step further. So we attempted with Cosmos Energy, Africa's KIC, which we made it for the Classic Finals, which we won the Classic. They just ended CIMG. We also came out on top as the maiden edition winners of the CIMG. So
We can do better for him.
we can say with the money we got from the conference, ASEP, it actually helped us to fully demonstrate our innovation. That has led others to build trust and confidence in us in order to invest in us, for us to actually build and bring what we have to reality. So we say once again, thanks to ASEP. We will say we have been able to fully register the business. We have commercialized portions of our business, precisely EcoFert, which is the organic fertilizer component, because it's a circular economy business with a smart biotechnology. So that was what we presented actually. So it was a bio component. So leveraging on what we could quickly take to the market was both our digesters and our bio-fertilizer, organic fertilizer, which we are currently selling. So we have a Green Shield and Stone Agro being our leading distributors currently. So it was a great experience. We asked, with the energy side, we have been able to build 10 digesters currently for people which are currently working. We have 4 households, and then the rest are for poultry farmers. That's what we were able to do currently. So we're building digesters for homes, ranging from a 4 cubic meter to 800 cubics. That's what we use for electricity generation and cooking as well. We're also working on the bio-hydrogen mix for quick access to be able to power gensets, because we have realized that, yes, the laborious process of using the gas, purifying the gas before you could use it for genset is becoming a challenge. So quickly, we worked on that, and that is what we have rolled out. So we say once again, thanks, and I wish everyone the very best.
Thank you. Before you go, what do you have to tell today's winner? What is the road ahead for today's winner?
Yes, I would like to say, first of all, we shouldn't say there will be no supervision, one. You have to actually use the money for what it is intended for, the right purpose. Because if you don't use it for the right purpose, you will not have the opportunity for other people investing in you, because you have to build trust. That is number one. So please, when giving the grant, please use it for the purpose it was been given for. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And it's good to see you. Congratulations and all the best on your journey. Thank you. You're looking very good. I can see that life as an entrepreneur is working very well.
All right, thank you. So, Doris, you can come up here. You're also looking very good. So.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So it took us a while to agree on these numbers, so pardon us. Thank you all for waiting, and it's going to be an exciting evening as we determine who are winners and who is going home with what. Please, are you ready for us to tell you who is going to go home with what today? Should I wait a little bit more, or? Okay. Everybody's been waiting here to hear. So I'll start with the second runner-up. To give the second runner-up the check, I would invite Olufunsu Somori. I hope I got the name right, Mr. Olufunsu Somori. Oh, you helped us last year to give out our check. It's good to see you again. It's good to see you. Yeah, he's the money man, right? Exactly. Thank you. Good to see you again. How have you been? Good. So joining him will be one of our judges. Which one of our judges will want to join Mr. Mukulu, please? Thank you, our Zimbabwean friend. So these are rich AFD friend. This is our rich Zimbabwean friend. So 2 people very, very well suited for this task. Please, yeah, you are not rich. Please don't stand next to the check. Give all the check people, please. Release the check. Thank you. We appreciate you. So tonight we're judging from 3 categories: market readiness, commercialization and scaling, team competence, and out of all of this, each session we are judged 5 marks, so the total was 15. So our second runner-up is Aisha Salifu and team with 8.7 marks. Please give it up for her. They just told you that being an innovator is not easy. It's a big challenge, so please give it up. So Aisha is going to get $1,000 tonight. Yeah, please give it up for her. Aisha, you're going home with $1,000. Please get her smiles up. Thank you, everybody. Please, Aisha, put in some smiles for everybody. Yes, it's worth being an innovator. Even if you got the second runner-up, please give it up for her. Thank you, and all the best on your journey. You can go ahead. So I'm torn on the same page I was last year, where I had to decide to either mention the first runner-up or the winner. Because we have 3 contestants, immediately I mentioned the first runner-up, we know the winner. So at this point, I've decided by my own rules to mention the winner. And when I mention the winner, we give it all to the winner, then the second runner-up can come up. Is that a fair one? Oh, I see this group says no. Okay, which people agree with that much? Oh, really? So you still want me to mention the first runner-up? Okay, they should come together. I can mention the winner. Tonight, I want to do what you guys want. You don't determine the winner, but you just determine the order. So tell me, which people want me to announce the first runner-up? Oh, you are not enough. I'm sorry, you lose. At this point, it's all about influence. You don't have it, so I'm going to mention our winner. Are we ready for our winner? Please give me some songs for our winner. And how much is our winner taking home today? What? $3,000. That's nice. So to announce the winner today and to give the winner their money, I invite Mr. Benjamin Boachi of ASEP and Madame Sunita Kamal, the president of NRGI. If you're here, can you please join Benjamin up on stage to give the wonderful checks to the winner? Benjamin, up on stage, please. Thank you. This way. Okay. You're looking lovely in that African print. It's good, really. So when I announce the winner, you can turn it over, and then the winner would take their check home. So, our winner for the second innovation challenge is, please drum roll for me, give me music. It's Miss Ashaba Ajara with 13.3 marks. Please give it up for her. nobody can leave, will give the same level of energy to my first runner-up, Carlton and team. May I invite Madam Catherine Diop of the Energy Transition Team to please hand over the check for us. Thank you. Robert, can you join us here with Madam Catherine to give the check over? Congratulations, Carlton and team. Congratulations. Thank you all so much for staying for tonight. May we have all the winners up on stage for a picture. Please come up on stage. Aisha, Adara, please come up on stage for a picture together. Judge, please join us for a picture together. Judge Muku.
Congratulations to you all. Congratulations. Please let's applaud them. It's not easy to be an innovator. It is easy to be a talker, but innovation, that's a different job. Some of us will stick to talking, but I encourage you to be innovative to solve Africa's energy problems. Thank you so much for all the time and the energy you have put into this. And thank you to our judges, our impartial judges, for the great work that you have done. Hey, the pictures. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much. Our judge, Chief Judge Doris. Please, let's applaud our judges. Please be reminded that, like I mentioned, there's cocktail right after the closing remarks. At this point, today we've done so well with our time. Everybody has been on time. Please, let's clap for ourselves for doing so well. Let's invite our chief host, my boss, the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Benjamin Boachi, to give us the closing remarks. Please, the final clap.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to take much of your time, but to reiterate our thanks to all of you for taking time to be here. It's always not easy to travel on our continent. We made it a point to be part of this conversation. Let's now move into action to make sure that we can actually galvanize the resources that we need to be able to address the energy poverty problem that we have on our continent. I'm sure at this point people are beginning to appreciate what we do and why we do it the way we do it. Trying to solve problems on this continent, some of us have come to the conclusion that you can as well work with even your enemies if the solution belongs to them or they have the solution to the problem. So we try as much as possible to bring together all the stakeholders to try solve the problems of the continent. And Bright is here. He knows how we are aggressive when we have to attack politicians to extract accountability from them. We attack the private sector when we have to extract accountability from them. Even our own civil society, we check ourselves. But beyond that also is the importance of harnessing our positives. We can't keep working in our silos, driven by hate, ideology, and philosophies. We need to identify the common grounds that builds society and builds our people. And part of the solution belongs to the private sector, part of the solution belongs to government, and civil society has a role to play. And that's why you see us demonstrating that collective effort for us to achieve what we have to achieve on the continent. And I must say that until we are able to eradicate energy poverty on this continent, the job remains undone. And we must work together to achieve that. Let me reiterate what I said. The fact that we have 600 million people living without access to electricity reflects our collective failure. And we need to address this urgently. And that is what matters. Nothing else matters more than the solutions that we need to drive. And wherever that solution is, we have to find it and make sure that we can eliminate energy poverty. On that note, I wish you a safe journey to wherever you came from, and let's start sharing results. Next year, I want to hear what you took from here and what you have been able to do with the action points that were read to us this evening. So I just want to thank you and safe journey back home. Thank you. Maybe it's because you are not pregnant this year. That's why I forgot. I forgot to thank my staff, the energy to keep this going, the team that, have worked hard to keep this event together. And a few years ago, I saw her so visibly trying hard, and I couldn't miss that part, but she's been amazing trying to coordinate all of this with the rest of the staff, Coach Joe Charles, Sammy, and the rest of the team. It's been incredible support. Years back, I would stay in this room to 4 a.m. trying to make sure that everything is in order. Monday, I was everywhere else, and then after 7 p.m., I was like, is the conference coming on? It tells you that we've grown. People are taking over the responsibilities of putting this together without my 100% commitment, and that is growth. And I'm hoping that we can keep this up. And as I indicated, just share with us where we fell short, and we'll work on it. So on that note, thank you, all staff, for helping us organize this. You want to all come? And let everybody see you. So come forward. And I will give them one assignment for them to thank all the partners who made this possible. So on behalf of the organization, can we say thank you to all the partners? All right. Are you taking a picture? Oh.
They are taking pictures. Yeah. Please, those who have not been to the stage, make sure your face is showing. As for me, I have plenty of pictures. Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. Safe travels. See you at FEC 2026. And be ambassadors of FEC 2026. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Please just hang around a bit for the cocktail to set in.
Amado